Welcome, this is Friendly Cat, and we're doing the Hearts of Iron 4 achievement, This Time for Africa, by 1940. Let's get started. We're going to approach this achievement in two phases. The first phase is defending against Italy and holding our cores, or holding our owned states, to proceed down the boarding the train all the way down to the focus that we need to take so we can complete this achievement. The opening is a standard disbanding our non-Chintat Safari divisions that we can, recruiting them, and then holding our line in the south and not fighting in the north air zone except for Desi. I think it's easier to just wipe Italy off the map, make a push for the port when the time is right, cut their supply, split them, and destroy them in the south. Maybe even bait a naval invasion and the destroy divisions that land to the north and south of that southern port, and then make a strong push to the north once we've cleared the south. But in this achievement we can't do that. We do not want to hold those non-core, non-owned lands. If Italy does not fully control those two southern states and the northern state, then they will offer us a white peace in early 1937. And for this achievement, we actually want to liberate both of those countries for ourselves. Those countries, along with the Kingdom of Libya, will be our first 3 African countries liberated. And the only real way to liberate them that I know of is to actually let Italy keep them, which means we're going to need to find a way to just hold our northern cores, or, as a strategy here, pull back, rebuild, recover, and then eventually fight to the north. So we're going to pull back, hold, as we would in a normal The Lion That Roared achievement, or a base achievement toward the Red Sea, or the Lion King. Just going to sit back, recover, take our usual 2 starting focuses to open up the army tree, and then play the Super Scavenger lottery, and then we're going to head down the boarding the train focus path. We'll also be purchasing guns as well. Might as well. We're heading down that path. It's 35 days. That's a very quick focus. And then when the time is right, we're going to swing around to the south like we normally would and encircle what divisions that we can that are up against our southern border. But we're not going to make a race for the port. We're not going to cut off the rest of the divisions. We're going to try to hold that line without doing so. I think this is much more difficult, which is why I'm showing this full playthrough all the way through as we still sit in early May. We're having a good time. As you might notice, that there's really no challenge. I should say there's no real challenge once you've set up your armies and you've solidified your lines. Certainly you can see divisions getting moved back and forth and reconvened. Before we're going to head to the south, because I'm eventually coming back to the north, you can see I'm moving troops around to a certain spot. I want to pick off those 2 divisions in the capital of Alsa, so we're going to do a quick little encirclement. I would normally, if I was planning to do the Lion That Roared, I would just head straight to the south, wipe the south, and come north. But because I'll be coming back here in a little bit, let's just pick those 2 off. If they want to sit in that capital, then we're going to take them and then head to the south. But we'll be taking care of them relatively quickly. Do keep an eye on your troops. Don't worry so much about losing the land or losing that desert tile. Once we're done with taking care of those 2 divisions that had the misfortune of coming in an encirclement location, or become exposed to encirclement, we're going to give up the land. We're going to give up Alsa. We're going to give up the title, those little provinces in that state, and then retreat back to our original northern line, so that we can rotate divisions to the south and prepare for our southern encirclement. After the southern encirclement is complete, we're going to hold the line and then destroy those Italian divisions that are left in the pocket. And it's going to take a little bit of time, and it's going to be a little bit different because we didn't take the port and we didn't cut off the supply. Now in your game, you may be able to take the take the port and then kill even more divisions. In my game, I was not able to. One of the things I'm keeping an eye on is the white peace date, which occurs early in 1937. If Italy does not fully control the two bottom states or the northern state, they may and eventually will offer you a white peace. So here in 1936, if you want to take the port and be a little dangerous, live wild, I'd say go for it. I did not, I'm not really that concerned about them not retaking the port, but as it turned out, Italy was able to put up a good amount of defense here, as you can clearly see, so I wasn't faced with that risk. I will occasionally walk right into that northern of the two states of the controlled by Italy. I'm not worried. It's August 1936. Italy will eventually come back into that little province and fully control the state. If this was early 1937, I would do my best to not walk into that state. I do not want to unintentionally trigger the white peace. I don't want a white peace with Italy. I want to remain at war so that when I complete my This Time for Africa focus, so I can start liberating colonies, I can liberate the three African countries first. Kingdom of Libya, and then I think it's Eritrea, and then the Somali Sultanate, I believe, which is the country in that bottom, those bottom two states. So as you can tell, we're doing the encirclement, and in a little bit we're going to be skipping ahead to the completion of that focus. So we're not going to be seeing too much of this combat. Now, as you can see, I've stepped into those squares, but now with the encirclement complete for those provinces, I will be backing out. And now that we've also weakened Italy in the south, I'm going to back out quite a bit and prepare for the push to the north. To me, this is challenging, to the push to the north and still have those Italian divisions on the south. Italy will put air power in the north. That's challenging and difficult to push through, but by doing the encirclement earlier of destroying 2 divisions in the north and now doing an encirclement in the south, and I think we picked up about 4 divisions, I think Italy's a little weaker. As we see, there's 1, 2, 1, 1, 2 on that northern border. Okay, they're ready. I think they're ready for us to push, to control those provinces, in order to control that state that we've lost. I believe that we need to take 2 of those 3 cities. Once we take 2, then we can proceed down that focus path past boarding the train to complete the focus that will let us start liberating colonies. And my experience, as we can see here, I'm actually tapping into the Italian northern state of Eritrea, controlled state, but I'm not actually heading into the state, just trying to tap those divisions to ensure they do not pin my divisions. And here we are just about control the last corps, which means this part of the run is effectively complete. We control our corps, we've managed to do a few encirclements, we're holding ourselves steady, and we can now proceed to the next part of the guide, which is the mini game. Now, because we did so well in the beginning, the mini game is going to be not too bad at all. We're going to be clicking on Libya using our command power. We will not be firing off anti-Italian propaganda at this point. It's not necessary. We will not be spending guns. Absolutely not necessary. Italy is at war. It also faces, I think it's a colonial arrest, which is another 15% resistance, which means all we need to do is burn command power and burn them on enough different states within the Kingdom of Libya, and it will flip on its own. The same with Eritrea, and the Somali Sultan as well. The biggest issue here is timing those 2 Italian states, the countries, I should say, the countries to our northwest, Eritrea and the Sultan Somali. I really want both of them, or we really want both of them to fire within 5 to 10 days of each other, because when Italy does not have full control, or 1, 2, or 3 of those states, they may fire off a white peace. We don't want the white peace because I want to liberate those countries and then get the white peace afterward. That way I remain at peace and not at war with the Axis as we proceed down to liberating other countries, particularly Portugal, Spain, and eventually Vichy France. If that doesn't work out for you, I think it's still salvageable, the run is salvageable, but we're just going to do what we can. As you can see here, I'm just firing off each of the different Kingdom of Libya states. We've got plenty of time. It's still early, 1938, so do take your time, be careful, and move through methodically. It's important to keep an eye on the different states, their different resistance levels, to ensure that we do make sure that they fire approximately the same time, generally within 5 or 10 days, so that we do not get the white peace event. We're also going to start moving on Spain. There's no reason to wait. Each of these command power decisions takes 30 days, so we're not just going to stay focused entirely on Italy. We're going to start cooking Spain and each of its different countries. We're also going to start thinking about Portugal as well. Notice we're already looking up the different Spanish countries that they've got. Let's keep an eye on the different resistance levels, continue to monitor them very closely so we fire off our guns decisions as necessary. Again, Italy will liberate its countries on its own, so we want to time it. In this case, you saw we took Eritrea, fired off the gun decision first, so that it would then fire at the same time and we'd get the offer for peace after we've taken the Somali Sultanate. We've also started on Portugal. Two of the three Portugal countries need multiple states to fire off, which is another reason why we don't wait to start Spain until after Italy's flipped. We start Spain, and while Spain's is cooking, then we start Portugal. And that way, as Spain starts its final flip, we have now begun on Portugal. Keep an eye on World War II. At this point, we flipped the three from Libya. We are still working on our last Portugal, and now Vichy France has formed with the capitulation of France. We will then start beginning on at least 4 different Vichy countries. We need 13 countries total. 3 come from Italy, 3 come from Spain, 3 come from Portugal. That's 9. I need 4 left, or we need 4 left. The first is a gimme from Vichy France. Even though they're at peace, the first one that will flip will not auto-join another faction because Vichy is not at war with them. However, once Vichy does go to war with that country that rebels against them, they will join the Axis and then join that war against the Allies, and future countries could auto-join the Allies faction. So choose multiple countries far apart. Well, and in this run, as you can tell, we're continuing to move our way through. We're nearly done. It's November 1940. We've continued to choose multiple countries. Even though this run is nearly done, I did not know the last ones would not auto-join, so I'm continuing to move through Tunisia and other Vichy countries. Here it is, November 1940. We've completed the run. We're going to run it for a few more days just to pick up one more country. I left a link in the description to my YouTube guide for all BBA achievements.